Alrighty, folks. Wanted to give a few more practical tips. I know that I put something in there around storytelling, but these are just some top practical tips as it relates to presenting. All right, we're going to talk about the story, memorizing, that people can tell when your eyes kind of go off screen. Picture's worth 1,000 words, and then slowing down and making sure that you take the time to breathe. All right, tip one. Start with a blank sheet of paper before building the presentation. Okay, so this right here can be your best friend. Blank sheet of paper, because what it does is when you are able to just kind of take some time, write out what you're thinking, it helps you to organize the ideas, the concepts, most importantly, the story that you're trying to tell, and then any memorable points that you want to make sure that you hit on, right? If you start trying to figure out what visually it's supposed to look like before you really have the story down, sometimes that can be a little bit challenging. And so you want to make sure that you take a little moment, write down kind of what you want to get across, what are the most important things that come across, what are the highlights for your business. All right, tip number 2, leave the memorizing for Broadway. All right, what I mean by that is that don't try to memorize the entire 5-minute pitch. It is very, very hard to memorize 5 minutes of information with no stopping, and so don't try to do it. So folks sometimes say, well, Alex, if I don't try to memorize it, then I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. So a couple of tips on that. Focus on the general idea, right? Think about how you generally want to convey the message and just speak naturally. It's going to take you a couple times. There's going to be some where you mess up a little bit. And as you practice, it'll become a little bit easier each time. It's important because when you're doing that, it lets your words flow naturally. All right. When you practice without the script, it gets easier. If you're practicing with the script, it actually can get a little bit harder when you then try to go off script directly, because what winds up happening is that you don't have it completely memorized, right? So don't try to memorize. A stumble is fine. Remember, this isn't, you didn't have 8 months to prepare for this. It's a short time frame. No one expects you to be perfect. All right. So just be aware of that, because that's also what trips people up, is when they have their sort of a script or they're trying to memorize something. It makes it a little bit challenging if they're trying to be perfect. And to the next point, great segue. Just because something is perfect does not mean that it comes across as authentic and it connects, right? So focus more on the story that you're telling, feeling like it's connecting with the audience versus memorizing every single word collectively together. All right, tip 3, don't get betrayed by your eyes. All right, now what does that mean? It means that a lot of folks, what they'll do is they will have something that's a little bit off camera, right? And they'll be like, yeah, so when we were talking about the thing and the thing and the thing, and what happens is we can tell that you're reading because you're looking off camera. Your eyes aren't looking at the screen. You're way above the camera. Sort of counterintuitively, people think that, oh, well, it'll make it a little bit easier. But people actually talk way faster when they're reading because they're just getting the words out, not trying to connect with an audience. Natural speaking pauses, right? The way things are written for us to interpret is not the way that we just talk, and normally it's a monotone voice. So don't try to read a script, right? It doesn't come across as clear, concise, and authentic, right? It sounds like you're reading a script, right? And that's going to diminish all the work that you put into the presentation. All right. Let the images do the heavy lifting. Tip number 4. All right. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. We say that all the time, and it's very true. When you see something striking, it can raise emotions. It can help you to sort of remember things. So when you're putting together your presentation, don't overlook the fact that it can be very, very helpful for you to be sure that you have solid images that connect, images that talk about your impact, images that even focus on, the process or activity that is kind of going on, right? Because it's really important if you have a sense of, hey, you know what? This image can help me remember something, right? So if this image right here, just to give an example, if you're talking about, being a pioneer and doing something that's, risky, but, people haven't done before. Okay. So then what about that is there? You show the image, you can then remember all the things that you want to say about it, and it makes it a lot easier for you, right? Tip number 5, slow down and breathe. Okay, slow down. The one thing is when people typically tend to get nervous, they speed up, right? Happens to everybody, happens to myself included, right? You speed up, speed up, speed up, speed up. And so what happens is you have a 5-minute pitch that you think is going to be 5 minutes, and it winds up being 2.5 minutes because you just sped through the entire thing. So the best way to do a great 5-minute pitch is create a 4-minute pitch and talk slow, right? Just talk at your normal pace. You can even slow it down a little bit because that's what makes it able to connect with the folks, right? If you sound rushed, if you sound frazzled, then the person who's viewing this is going to feel that a little bit, right? You have enough time. 5 minutes is plenty of time to get through this, to share information, to, put your business in a great light. And you don't have to explain everything, right? That's the beauty of having 5 minutes. It's not asking you to do a 45-minute presentation on every detail. So focus on what you want them to remember. Have a good time while you're doing this. Have some fun. And again, you can keep some of these tips in mind. So bonus tip, enjoy the process, have fun. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me.